Got it.
Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about the authors and illustrators' relationship. Oh, what a thinker! How empowering that we need to really think about this topic. And luckily, I have an author, Kelly, here, and an illustrator, John, here, who's going to really help us think about this in a whole new way. So, John and Kelly, tell me, when you hear these words, an author and illustrator's relationship, what does that make you guys think about?
A good book.
Yes. And for you, Kelly?
I agree. I think, especially with a children's book, that the artwork drives the story. It really does. And if you don't have a good illustrator to go along with the words, I think the book suffers.
It does. It does. Because one thing that I realized is that when I had an illustrator that did not see my vision, couldn't um see where I was going and didn't portray it out the way that I wanted it to, it kind of just took a toll on that book. Where now when I look at that book, I'm just like, it's not my best work. You know what I mean? So I agree with exactly what you're saying. Like sometimes that illustrator can truly bring your words to such a way where it's like, wow, I couldn't even imagine it that it can look this way. And now that you brought it to life, it's even better than what it was in my head. So, John, for you, how important it is for you to make sure that you are seeing what the author is trying to convey with their words.
That's key.
Mhm.
That takes the longest time in the beginning because you have to see, I have to be able to put on paper what Kelly sees in her head. And Kelly's had this character, would you say, Kelly, 22 years, 23 years?
Yes, he lived in there a long time.
Yes. And when she finally decided to go ahead with this, and then they, with the group she was with, and they contacted me, the whole thing was trying to develop the character so it appeared the way she saw it in her head.
Mhm.
And that's the initial uh, work that has to be done when an illustrator works with an author to develop the characters the way the author sees it. If you can't do that, it's not gonna the author is not going to be happy with it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, Kelly, what are some key points that you were able to take out of this collaboration that you had with John as your illustrator?
Well, I think the fact that I found an illustrator that would be patient with me because I don't know a lot about art. So to develop the character and to be able to have that communication where he would send pictures and I would go, "Oh, he's adorable," but it's not Polly.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
we would go back and forth and he would say, "Well, what exactly?" And I do I thank John all the time because my instructions were very uh vague in the fact that I would say, he just needs to be more snugglier. And he said, okay. But I will tell you the back and forth, and when my husband and I opened the one picture, I just started to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, that's him. That's what's been living in my head for 20 years, and he just made him come to life.
Oh, that's a beautiful moment. So, John, when you finally had that, oh, we did it, how did that make you feel?
Oh, good. It's always a good feeling when you can meet their expectations. And I even had to develop a special brush for that snuggly
Oh.
effect.
Is that what you label it? Snuggly effect?
Yes, I did. I labeled it the snuggle brush. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I love it because I think that's true. Because I remember one time, my first book, they were so technical, my illustrator, where they were like, oh, how do you want it to look? Do you want it to look drawn? Do you want it to look like paintbrushes? Do you want it to look like this or that? And I was just like, I was getting overwhelmed because I was just like, ugh, how do I do this? So like I realized that when I go to an illustrator, I have to give them an illustrator manuscript where it describes them what how I envision it, and then I like say, okay, so with this page I envision envision this, and then this, and I envision this, because I realized that makes it a lot easier. Because when I just gave them the manuscript and they did what they thought was there, it like overwhelmed me because I was like, that's not how I seen it. So the fact that you were like, no, that's not how I see my character. That's not how I see Polly. Like I get that because and with my
Yeah.
first book, they weren't getting like this vessel that I was trying to convey to put it in, and I had to like Google it and send it to them, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well we get it now." So having that constant communication, I think, is very important because it's your work in your head. You know, I mean, it's in your head for the longest time, so that's what makes it very beautiful. So, John, have you ever dealt with an author that you just had to drop the project because the communication wasn't there?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've had one that makes Kelly look like a breeze. Um, he's just you have to dig deeper. And I so far I'm on his third. I just completed his third book cover,
Nice.
and and we move on. He has seven in the series, and we moved on. So
Awesome.
now that's the toughest one I think I've ever had, but I've never had to drop anybody. Not yet.
Okay. Not
I've always
yet.
been able to reach,
Yeah,
the
that's
goal.
good. That's good.
And like I you were talking earlier, what I usually do, and I did with Kelly, is go to my website, look at my other children's books that I've done and other stuff that I've done, see if that style is right for what you see in your head.
Mhm.
And, because children's books are all different styles. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of times that a person, I won't, be able to, meet that expectation because my style is different. So
Yeah.
the portfolio is an important thing. And I always send an author to the portfolio first. And if he
Yeah.
sees something in there he likes and he likes the style, then we move on.
Awesome. Awesome. So Kelly, when you checked out John's portfolio, was that just an easy connection where it was just like, yeah, this style of his style is what I am kind of envisioning my story to play out to be? Was it like that?
Yeah, I looked through everything. I liked the children's books that he had done. I did have um, two other illustrators. I sent them, you know, I wrote what I thought Polly was, what was in my head. And they came back and there was nothing wrong with them, but they weren't anywhere near how I saw him. John's
Mm-hmm.
was, we saw his and went, oh, okay, this can be Polly. And I think you have to do that because until you see it right there on the page, it's hard to make your decision from looking at other people, what they've done for other people. So that would be the next step is to have a couple people draw and then you decide which one is matches what you're seeing and John's did. And then he was just very easy to work with. And the first book took what did it take? About 3 months, John?
Yeah, going on 4 months. In fact, I
Yeah.
think I was a few days over our contract agreement. I think we're 4 days over, in fact. But it was just because of the development of the characters. Now, the second book that we are just about finished with took half that time, took 2 months.
Yeah.
Because the characters are established, I know what Kelly wants, and much easier. Everything went much easier, much faster.
Oh yeah, it becomes like a smoother process, especially if
Yeah,
it's a series, then you already have the core foundation. You already know how Polly looks.
yep,
Now it's about
yep.
creating the remaining scenes of where Polly's gonna be and what it's gonna come to. So yeah,
Mhm.
I agree 100%. I think when it comes to the series, if you stay with the same author, with the same illustrator, then it makes it a lot easier of a process. But I don't think it necessarily hinders it going into the second book if it overextends because it just shows how important this project is to you. You know what I mean? It shows that you put your heart into this, that you wanted to make sure that not only her vision was established, but your connection and your relationship as that author and illustrator was there so that there was no gaps and there was nothing
Yeah.
that like no compromise. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times I know that with one of my books, I had to really compromise because there was a language barrier. The lady just didn't know English that well, so she didn't understand some of the things that I was trying to convey in my book. And I think that
Makes it
was one
difficult.
of, yeah, it made it very difficult, where I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna compromise. I'm gonna deal with it, because it's not bad, but it's not great. It's not my vision, but at the end of the day, it's not the worst that's out there. Because I think you hit it on the head when you said, when it comes to children's books, there's so many ways that you can illustrate a book. You know what I mean? Especially for children's, because children are not as picky as they make it seems, because they just want to visually see it. And as long as you make it visually appealing, then the child is able to relate to it to a degree. And even if it's hand drawn and you can see the hand drawing, it doesn't really take away from it, because some of the children will be like, oh, okay, well, that's not that bad. I can draw that. You know what I mean? So it inspires the children to draw or to start to get creative. So there's so many ways that people can really spark that interest into children to really start thinking and moving and inquiring this love of just reading or illustration, because it's a whole different avenue when you go into children's books, because you're not just trying to gravitate to the parent, you're also gravitating to the child. So when you wrote this book, how important was it for you to make sure that the children got the message along with the parents?
Um, I thought that was pretty important. And I wanted it to inspire them to travel, to go and see, to be proud Americans. And I think that came across. And I think the fact that the pictures told the story, that I have a friend of mine is a reading teacher. She has a granddaughter. And when she read it, she said, Kelly, it's perfect. The pictures were perfect, because she is not reading yet, but she can look at the pictures. And now that she's been read the story, she can tell the story just from the
Love
pictures.
that. I love
And
that.
after teaching for 29 years, and that's the beginning of reading. They
Yes.
start to tell it and they use their context clues. So I wanted to make sure all that was included.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you say that, because it's so real. Because people don't realize how important illustrators are when it comes to children's book, because they bring it to life. Because before a child can start reading it, they can see it. And when an illustrator like yourself, John, that can bring it to light and allow like the words to be mobile, you know what I mean? The words to be visual in that aspect of movement and scenery is so valuable, because it makes it it's so real, because they could be in their 40s and 50s and still remember that one childhood book just because of the imagery that was there. You know what I mean? Like I will always remember like this one book about, I don't know the name of it, but I just remember this one scene where it was about this building that was in fire, and they were like, fire, fire, Mr. McGuire, and the illustrator made the house in fire and in flames, but every level was different, and it was really cute. And I will always remember that book because of the way that the illustrator portrayed the fire and portrayed each scene of the tenants there. And it was just so impactful that anytime somebody says fire, the first thing that comes to my head is fire, fire, Mr. McGuire. So it really does make it very impactful. So what are some hurdles? I know we touched base on a little bit of it, but what are some hurdles that you can give maybe an illustrator or an author that may be listening to really consider when it comes to this relationship?
Just the communications. If you can communicate and go back and forth and have, patience, I think anybody could work together as long
Yeah.
as, you can understand each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another point with the book, Kelly's series is the history that the kids are going to learn. It's not just Paulie's lost and he goes here and he goes there and stuff, but there's a lot of history that's going to be coming out about our country. And
Hmm.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And Kelly, for
And I'd
you?
have to agree. I think it's the communication. I think you have to find someone that you're comfortable working with and who is going to communicate with you, and that it's okay to say what you need changed, or
Right.
what part you liked, what part you didn't. And I think with this being my first one, that was hard because this is someone's work. The last thing I want to do is go, I don't really like
Yeah, yeah.
it."
But you don't also want to compromise, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, um, Mitzi, the you don't want to compromise. It's your story, it's your book, it's what you've had in your mind, it's how you want to come out. You really don't want to shortchange yourself on that either. So you got to be able to, when you communicate with the illustrator, you got to be able to, you know, push a little bit more each time, to get the illustrator to understand what you're trying to do.
Okay, okay. So Kelly, when you were pushing John to get your vision of Polly, how did that make you feel? You know what I mean? To just give him that extra oomph of like, no, not that snuggly or not that dry, or I mean, how did that make you feel just to giving that feedback back?
At first I found it fairly difficult because, like I said, I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I also, to say I wanted it how I wanted it. And it, our relationship, and we had such good communication. I mean, I'm going to just tell you, I hit the lottery when John and I worked together. And by the end, it now it's very comfortable. By the end of the book, I mean, we had one scene where I'm like, "Ooh," I'm like, "Okay, that one." I go, "Ooh, that's that. She's not cute, face on." And we went back and forth, but I became more comfortable because we built that relationship, and we were able to do that.
And don't
That's
forget the classroom scene. Remember that, the
Oh,
difference there? Yeah.
I think that was the first.
That was the first one that, oh, that's not going to work.
There's a
Yeah.
scene, one of the pictures, he's in a classroom.
okay.
And John, he made the classroom with paper airplanes and trash on the floor, and the kids all going
Spitballs.
crazy.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're going to love this. It's so funny." And I opened it and I looked at my husband. I go, "Oh, no, no, no. We can't have a classroom like this.
This is
No."
from a teacher now.
So he goes, "Wasn't that funny?" I'm like, "Oh, no, we're gonna have to clean up the floor. Everybody's got to face forward." And he goes, "Oh, okay." But I think that was the first one where I went, "Okay, I'm really gonna have to say something because this is
Yeah.
making me
Yeah.
crazy."
Oh,
But
But
then,
that's
that's
so
understanding
funny.
the viewpoint. It really is. That was my
yep,
viewpoint, but the author has the final say.
Yeah.
It's her viewpoint, and we got to reach that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love
then
that.
we did some things too. John really wants Polly to go to space. So when he's daydreaming, he was going to be in the desert. I said, "Why don't you put him in space?" So John got some space suits and some space stuff in the book. We slipped
Yep.
that.
Oh,
Kind of
that's
push NASA a
nice.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. That's nice because it sounds like you were able to allow him to get that creative freedom as well. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes.
And I feel
Yes.
like
No,
with the
Kelly was
second
good that
book,
way.
in the second book, did you guys feel like you were able to John, did you feel like you were able to step into that creative freedom more
Oh,
because you already
absolutely.
have it
Absolutely.
more
Second book
established?
was so much easier once I
Yeah.
understand the characters and everything, and the way Kelly and her husband Jeff think,
Yeah.
Once I'm in their head, I'm usually pretty good. So,
It's a
Oh,
scary
that's
place, but he's made it there.
right.
yeah.
It could be a scary place to be in somebody else's head. But when you're able to go into and realize, oh, this is actually cleaned up, this is pretty nice, you realize, we can make it happen. But I love the fact that you had one vision of like the classroom scene and you thought of it as being chaotic and loud and rambunctious. And then Kelly, her teacher mode came on as soon as she seen it, like, no, 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 we need order and we need structure
Yeah.
and we're gonna clean this all up. I
Yeah.
love that because it just shows the two different sides of people, the two different sides of their vision, and really realizing like it's for the common of a good of the book. You know what I mean? It's not about egos. It's not about power trips. It's just about seeing the vision come to life. And I think that's the beauty of it is just seeing the vision come to life. So Kelly, when it comes to reviewing the book, do you notice things that you didn't notice before when you were just going through the first steps and how do you handle those things? Do you nitpick it or do you just brush it off?
One of the big lessons I learned is John would send all of the illustrations as drawings first. They weren't colored.
Okay.
And he kept saying they're going to look different when they're colored. They're going to look different when they're colored. So without understanding the whole process, I think you colored the one picture quickly for me that had all the characters in it. And he sent it, and I went, oh, okay, I get it now. So the drawing, he doesn't look as snuggly, but he looks very snuggly when it's color. So I learned that piece. So the next book became easier when I looked at the drawings, going, okay, I don't have to nitpick everything because this will come out in the color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a learning process of how he worked and what his job is, because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. So,
I
John,
supply storyboards first. We once we sit down and we discuss the entire story, then I panel it out like a storyboard.
uh-huh.
And they're just quick sketches. And Kelly looks them over. We set another time to get together, and we start picking each panel and making the changes that Kelly sees. And then once that's done, then we go to the drafts, which are just pencils again,
Mm,
but they're full page and they're individual and they're more detailed. And once Kelly sees that, we make changes if there needs to be any revisions from that point. And once she's happy with that, then we move on to color and it's pretty much finished.
yeah, yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. That's beautiful. I love the relationship that you guys have because it makes it real. It gives authors like myself who had bad experience with illustrators before, it makes it realize like if you actually find the right illustrator, you'll actually have a great and amazing relationship or experience out of it because my last children's book that I just finished making that should be airing out soon. I actually had a great relationship with her. She was some illustrator in Germany, and she spoke good English. She understood what I wanted. I gave her creative freedom after the 10 pages because she understood what I was trying to convey. And then once she understood what my husband cried when he finally seen the ending product. So illustrators, you cannot devalue the worth that you bring into to the author's vision because your value is so important. You bring our creativity that we have locked in our mind out in real life in a way that's like you're free. You know what I mean? I bet you now Polly's finally free from being locked in your mind and your husband's mind for so long. And now, you know what I mean? All of these things are so freeing because it's like now other people can experience Polly. Other people can experience my vision. Other people can finally see my heart, see your heart. And I think that's the reason why I think having this author and illustrator relationship is so important that you shouldn't dismiss it as, oh, it's just another person like I used to. It's really about finding the person that connects with your same values, connects with your same understanding, you know what I mean? Have the same goal. Like if you were trying to find this patriotic person in a different continent, then obviously they wouldn't understand being a proud American, how that would make you feel. But the fact that you found somebody in America to see the value of how it feels to actually be a proud American, it's a different feeling. Like, yes, I am a proud American. I am proud to live in this country. Like that's something that not a lot of people can say, but I can say it, you can say it, you know what I mean? John can say it, we all can say it here, knowing that it is an amazing country that we live in. So yes, I think it's truly empowering to have this opportunity. I really wish more people can really think about it differently and not really just focus on the cost. You know what I mean? Because when you focus too much on the cost, then it kind of destroys the vision and it limits the possibilities of what can come out of this book and what it can be because who knows what happened if years later a TV show is like, hey, let's make a segment out of it, you know what I mean, let's do something more out of it, you know what I mean, like
Saturday morning
you
cartoons, yeah.
exactly. You don't know. So it's just like it's truly empowering to know that
We have
illustrators.
a little higher goal, I think. Kelly, if you want to explain.
Mm.
Okay, Mitzi, my goal to know when Polly's made it is when he's a balloon in the Macy's Day Parade
Oh,
for
there you
Thanksgiving.
go.
So we
There
got a
you
little bit of
go.
work to do,
It's
but
a little bit of a lofty goal, but I mean, if you're gonna set a goal, you might as well have one really good one.
Right? A really good one. I like that because it's a real one. It could be next to Snoopy. You know what I mean?
There
SpongeBob's
you
up
go.
there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
Polly can be there. So are you thinking of a third book then, or is it done with two?
Ooh,
No, the second book, he adventures to Washington, D.C. And that actually is in the process, should be out by Christmas, actually, 2025. I don't- And the third book we've started on. So
Nice.
my husband does a lot of the fact finding for me, and he writes these very long, elaborate stories that are not for, I have to bring them down for kids.
Yeah.
And we will work on the third book, which hopefully will be out, next year.
How beautiful. I am so excited to see Polly's journey through the world and see where you're going to take him, big and all of his adventures. And I hope and I pray that I see him in Macy's Day Parade too on Thanksgiving one day. And I'm going to be like, I know the author and illustrator. I know who did this. I know who made this happen.
Well,
That
Mitzi, you're going to be a rope holder. Anybody who's there at the beginning goes and gets to hold the rope.
the rope. Yep.
Yes, I would gladly walk and hold that rope. I'm only 5'1", but it's okay. I would, as long as it doesn't drift me off with it, with the balloon, I'm okay. I'll make sure I have sandbags on my feet to make sure it doesn't drift me off. But
There you
I
go.
love it. I am so glad that you guys were able to establish this connection, establish this relationship and to make more out of this book, to create more out of what you thought was possibly only one book, and now that you're at three. Oh, what a beautiful blessing. What an inspiration for my listeners to hear your story and realize anything is possible as long as you have that good communication, that good feedback. You'll know how to take constructive criticism that's so valuable because if you don't know how to take that constructive criticism as an illustrator, you wouldn't get that far. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to adjust and bring author's vision to life, and it's truly empowering. So I know time is catching up to us. So what can be some lasting words that you can leave our audience to keep on thinking?
Well, mine, I think, is with the amount of children's books and things and book covers that I've worked with different authors on, I have to say this relationship that Kelly and I have developed is far beyond what I've ever had with anyone else. I mean, we've
Awesome.
done book signings this summer
Awesome.
in two different states. Um, uh, we just, we're more than just clients with each
Yeah.
other, more than just illustrator and author. So I
Yes.
have to take that as a plus.
Yes.
Never had that before.
Awesome.
Definitely. Our spouses know each other, our
Yep.
families. We've met each other's families. And I think that in itself, having that relationship, made the second book, the pictures came very natural. And I think the fact that John knows Polly and understands Polly, there were parts in the story he would go, "Do you really want him to do that? Maybe." And he would help, or I would say, "Do you think Polly would do this?" It's very nice to have someone as an author who, I've had this little guy in my head for 20 years to have, and my husband obviously loves Polly, but to have someone else invest in this with me has just been really, really nice.
Oh, absolutely. It is. It makes it like a true bond, a true relationship. It's like a baby. It's your work husband and work wife, and there's your baby
Yeah.
is your book.
Yep.
You know
There
what I
you
mean? And
go.
the fact that you guys were able to do book signings together and promote your book across all platforms is truly beautiful because it's not a selfish thing. It's about seeing it for something more. It's allowing kids to imagine. I'm allowing kids to see where they're coming from in a different way, in a different opportunity, and to just think differently and move differently and feel what you're trying to convey in those words in your illustrations. So it really does hold so much value that, I mean, to be honest, words can't really describe it because there's so much that makes it beautiful. And the fact that this is one of the better relationships that you have had and you've done this you've done this line of work for so many years, John. It really takes holds so much value because it just shows, you know what I mean, how many people are there and they don't really care about a relationship. They don't care
Yeah, I've never
about,
had this, so
yeah, they
yeah,
don't really
not
care
this kind.
about what you have to say or what your inputs are. They're just like, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is all I get. You know what I mean? It's so black and
Yeah,
white, and it's like, it makes it like, okay, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna like it, but I'll do it. You know what I mean? It makes it different when you like it and you like the characters and you like the author and you like who you're working with. And it gives you this motivation to do it. It gives you like this energy, this inspiration, like what else can this be? And the proof is in the pudding because you guys are still creating something that you never thought, probably, Kelly, when you were first looking for an illustrator, that you never thought that this was going to come out to be where what it is. And the fact that you have this relationship with your with each other's families and you guys could probably go out for cookouts, you know what I mean? And just have a great time, not even talking about work. I mean,
well,
that is
we've
truly
done
something
it.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't I believe it 100%, and I inspire my authors and illustrators who may be listening in this and during this conversation to really consider everything that we just said. Really play it back in your mind and see your parts and see if this is what you really want to create this type of connection with your illustrator or with your author. You know what I mean? And if you have any questions and you're inquiring to find somebody who's sincere, go check out John. Yes, he has his work on his website. You'll find the access to the link in the description. And if you want to know more about Kelly and all the books that she has to offer, or what's coming out of her, what's coming to be, or any of the goodness, I have access to her link as well to her website, and you can find out more about her. You can follow her on her social medias. You can follow John on his socials as well. All of this great information, easy access. You don't got to do a Google search. Just finding them in the description just so that you can continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point? Yes, it is. So with that being said, bye.